Hi everybody, welcome back. Glad you could tune in again. Okay, I want to think a little more about another practical implication of the doctrine of the Trinity. This one is perhaps a little less easy to grasp in an abstract sense, and so maybe I can make it more concrete by comparing this implication of Trinitarian theology with the corresponding situation in another religious tradition which lacks Trinitarian theology. I'm thinking of Islam. The practical principle that I have in mind is that both unity and diversity are good things. Whereas in a non-Trinitarian theological picture, we would not expect to find that diversity is a good thing. Only unity, oneness, sameness would be regarded as good. Let's try and think abstractly about that for a moment, and then I'll give you a couple of practical examples of what I have in mind. In Islam, God is one, and not three. And God is, in Islamic theology, Allah is the perfect, the transcendent, the great, the holy, the glorious, and so on. But there is in him no distinction at all, no relational distinction or diversity at all. And so if you ask yourself from a philosophical standpoint, how many ways are there of being perfect in Islam? Ultimately, you'd have to say one and one only. Contrast that with the Christian picture of God. How many ways are there of being perfect in the Christian faith? Try and ask the question from a philosophical standpoint. You notice it becomes a little more complex. In one sense, we want to say there's one way of being perfect. One God exhibits in himself all glory, all perfection, all beauty, all wonder, all splendour. It's found in that one God. There's one way of being perfect. And yet, then you want to say, hold on a second, within that one set of perfections, those perfections are relationally oriented to each other and to the world in three distinct, different ways. The Father is not the Son, and the Son and the Father are not the Spirit. So how many ways are there of being perfect within Christian philosophical theology? Well, one and three. We'd expect to find in Christian thinking the idea that unity and diversity are good things. Whereas, as we said a moment ago, Islamic theology doesn't provide that backdrop. So let me now give you a couple of illustrations of this. If you walk around certain parts of London, which are heavily dominated by Muslim communities, certainly other parts of the UK, places like Bradford, other regions where there are large, strong and quite orthodox Muslim communities. And certainly if you go to somewhere like Saudi Arabia, where the whole country exists within that religious outlook, and you look at how people dress, particularly look at how women, ladies, dress, you notice something very striking. They all dress in the same way. In fact, in the most extreme orthodox forms of Islam, where women wear the burqa, the full face and head and body covering, it's as though the piety within Islam has developed so as to obscure any differences between one woman, one lady, and another. It's as if the practical day-to-day life of Islam shouts and screams at us, there is only one way of being beautiful, and it's this way. No diversity, no variation, no difference can be tolerated. Whereas now, of course, if you look at Christian churches, even conservative Christian churches and churches that are very culturally conservative, you do notice a huge amount of diversity if you look at the same kind of characteristics, what men and what women wear. Now, why is that? You can see that Trinitarian theology provides a foundation for both unity, in a sense, conformity to certain standards, and also diversity within that conformity. We'd expect to find in Christian life and Christian piety the recognition both that there are standards, so to speak, within which we ought to exist. Because there is one God. There is a principle of unity and conformity to that one standard, which is a good thing. But yet within that, we'd expect to find also a vast degree of diversity. There are many, many, many different ways for a Christian woman to be beautiful. As many, in fact, as there are Christian women. Another example, and here it's much easier for me to talk about just the Christian example because I've had very little experience of living in a Muslim community. I only have a few Muslim friends here, and I don't remember the last time I spent any time socially with them in their homes. It happened once or twice, but it's been a long time ago. At the church here at Emmanuel, one of the things that we've been blessed with is a fairly substantial cultural diversity. We have had Christians here from, well, at one time, there were 25 different nationalities in the church all at once, and that's quite something for a church of sort of 55, 60 people. I think the total number of nationalities that we've had in the congregation now is probably over 35 different people. And every year, since the second year of our existence in 2010, we began in 2009, we have had an Easter feast at which we've asked a different family or person within the church to plan the menu, and then other families have contributed cooking various dishes, and we've sort of eaten it all together and a big buffet meal, kind of bring and share. But the menu has been planned by somebody. And we realised at an early stage that we had so many different cultures, different ethnic backgrounds within the church, that we could probably find a different nationality every year who'd be willing to plan the menu. And so we have, every single year, we've had food from a different part of the world. We've had Chinese food, we've had English food, that was the first one. We had roast lamb, very traditional English Easter dish. Chinese food, Polish food. We had a couple of ladies from sub-Saharan Africa who cooked a whole mishmash of different things from their Ghanaian and Zambian backgrounds. We've had a whole range of different Mediterranean and European and African and Afro-Caribbean backgrounds, simply representing the diversity of cultures and ethnic groups within the church here in London. And that's simply because London is a diverse place. It brings together people from lots of different places. But the important principle here is that all those meals were wonderful. It turns out that there's not just one way of eating wonderful food among Christians. And we might even take that for granted, and perhaps we do. All of our cultures in the West are multicultural now to a degree, even cultures which have less diversity than we have here in London. But we shouldn't miss the significance of this. From the perspective of Christian theology, the goodness of this diversity is grounded on the character of God himself, within whom, yes, of course there is unity. There are certain things that it's bad to wear, and certain things that it's bad to eat. But within the realm of things that it's good to wear and good to eat, and all the goodness in every other aspect of life, art and architecture and all the other aspects of culture that we are immersed in all the time, there are many, many, many ways of being beautiful, many ways of being good, many ways of being wonderful, many ways of reflecting the glory of the triune God who has made us. So you see, it turns out that the doctrine of the Trinity has some fairly far-reaching practical implications that we might not even realise are there, but which turn out to be extremely significant for shaping our lives together. May the Lord bless you, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye for now.